Hello, my name is Sean, and this is Cruise Through Life. I know I missed a few days, so we have a lot of news stories to cover. We have Carnival's plans for solo cabins, a cruise passenger being medevaced, private island improvement plans, a cruise line emphasizing its focus on guest experiences, a cruise ship birthday, and a cruise ship arriving in a new port for the first time. Lots to talk about. Carnival has announced through brand ambassador John Heald that Carnival currently has no plans to add solo cabins on any of its cruise ships. A passenger asked about the possibility on Facebook, but was told that this is not in the plans. Carnival prices cabins based on double occupancy, and that is a downer for those of us who like to sail solo. This means solo travelers have to pay a solo traveler supplement and pay nearly twice the per person rate. Other lines such as Norwegian have implemented dedicated solo traveler cabins, and if you've ever tried to book one of those, they sell out fast, so Norwegian might just be onto something here, and I hope more brands will follow suit in the future. On February 27th, a 72-year-old passenger aboard the Holland America Koningsdam experienced multiple strokes while offshore Kailua Kona, Hawaii, and is now recovering after being airlifted to a hospital. Video of the rescue shows a United States Coast Guard medevac helicopter hovering over the ship before lowering a basket for the passenger experiencing the medical emergency. The Joint Rescue Coordination Center Honolulu received a notice the day before about the passenger who had multiple strokes, and a flight surgeon recommended he be medevaced within 20 hours. The following morning, an HC-130 Hercules airplane crew and an MH-65 Dolphin helicopter crew from the Coast Guard Air Station Barbers Point met the cruise ship about 60 miles south of Honolulu. The man, whose identity has not been made public, is in stable condition. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the Coast Guard in action, but let me tell you, I've seen the videos, and they are some very highly skilled operators. You know, when you think about the military, it's always Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, maybe Space Force these days, but everyone always forgets about the Coast Guard. I actually got to go to a Coast Guard base for my day job, and there were some awesome people. They took me and my mom out on one of their boats to do a little patrol and gave us challenge coins for the base, which was a really awesome experience. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there are some awesome men and women who do a lot more than people realize, and I encourage you to check out some of the videos of their rescues on YouTube. It really is very cool. Norwegian Cruise Lines has stated that they have made some significant investments into their private island strategy, particularly at Great Stirrup Cay. This comes from Harry Sommer, the president and CEO of Norwegian Cruise Lines Holdings, during their year-end and fourth-quarter earnings call. They are going to be building a new two-ship pier, and that is scheduled to open in late 2025. This strategic enhancement at one of their highest-rated ports will be a game-changer for the experience at Great Stirrup Cay. Before I share my thoughts on the story, I want to talk about the next story and combine them together because it's the same cruise line and along a similar vein of information. So our next story is going to be about NCL emphasizing the guest experience. On that same earnings call from the previous story, Harry Sommer emphasized the company's prioritized focus on the guest experience with the line. He discussed how if the line focused on guest experiences, the financial performance would be driven by the guest experience. He also discussed various investments they've made into the customer experience, such as Starlink Wi-Fi and expanded itineraries with additional ports of call across the fleet, and numerous other things both on and off the ships. I love this focus on guest experience. That's why we sail with particular lines, and we all have our own personal preference on cruise lines. Investing in the private islands for Norwegian, especially Great Stirrup Cay, is an excellent decision. I was there in December, and I'll be honest, there's not really a ton to do on the island. My mom and I basically just planned it as a beach day, and that was fine. We enjoyed it quite a bit. We got a lounger with an umbrella right next to the Bacardi bar. She basically chilled there all day. I did some snorkeling and exploring on the island. I wish I could have done the zipline course, but there's a weight limit that I exceed, so that didn't happen. But other than the zipline course, there's not really much to do there other than call it a beach day. It's also a tender port, so if you don't know what that means that there's not a pier there, and you have to get off the cruise ship onto a smaller boat to take you into the port. And not that that is a particularly long process. You do have to get up early to get your tender tickets and wait for your group to be called, and the ride takes like 20-ish minutes, so I don't think it's terrible. But if you don't get your tender ticket early, you might not be able to get off the ship until 10 or 11. Putting a pier in is going to be a massive game changer here, and it's something that I desperately needs. I also think it could use some more activities to do with Perfect Day at Coco Cay right next door. it's hard not to be a little jealous of all the stuff going on there. Not that it's a bad private island experience, especially if you're okay with just a beach day, but it is lacking in other activities. I'll be back there later this year, hopefully after the pier is open, so make sure you subscribe to see that video. Our next story is a cruise ship birthday. Ida Blue recently celebrated 15 years of service with Ida Cruises. The ship was christened February 9th, 2010, and designer Jet Jupe is the vessel's godmother. 15 years is about middle age for a cruise ship. Most ships have a service lifespan of about 20 years, so this is a big birthday for the Ida Blue. Our final story, on February 28th, the newest and shiniest ship from the Cunard fleet, the Queen Anne, paid her first ever visit to Sydney, Australia. The Queen Anne is the first new ship in the Cunard fleet in close to 15 years, so this is a big deal for Cunard, the ship, and the Port of Sydney. She is currently on a 107-day world cruise and will visit other Australian ports during the sailing and then move on to Asia. This is really cool. Every time a cruise ship calls at a port for the first time, there's a little ceremony and they exchange plaques. It's just one of those cruise culture things that's pretty cool. If you wander around your ship, you can usually find a spot with all the plaques and you can check out where your ship has been. You do have to look for it though, because if you're not paying attention, you might just miss it. If you're ever on a sailing where they are visiting a port for the first time, I encourage you to check out the plaque ceremony. It's a really cool, neat little thing to do. That wraps up today's cruise news. I hope you enjoyed it. We had quite a few positive stories today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you on board sometime soon.